5 years after decriminalizing homosexuality, India's apex court is hearing pleas on a day-to-day basis in a constitution bench to legalize same-sex marriages or not. The centre is opposing it, calling it an urban elitist concept. The top court, though, is refusing to admit any absolute definition of man and woman. What happened today in the court? Take a look.
After the historic takedown of Section 377, decriminalizing homosexuality, one would have thought the progression to equal rights in India has begun. Next in line would be legalizing same-sex marriage. The government on the issue of decriminalizing homosexuality had left it to the wisdom of the Supreme Court to take a stand or a call on consensual gay sex, or Section 377. One would have thought the government would do the same when it came to same-sex marriages. Not quite. Formally opposing legal recognition, the centre has submitted in Supreme Court that the concept of marriage between man and a woman is deeply embedded in religious and societal norms, and any interference will cause complete havoc with the delicate balance of personal laws in the country and in acceptance of societal values. In its vehement opposition, the government also submitted, calling same-sex marriage an urban elitist concept that undermines religious and social values. And in the latest affidavit, the centre filed a fresh affidavit asking the Supreme Court to make all the states and union territories in the country a part of the ongoing court proceedings. The government has also asserted the court should refrain from recognizing same-sex marriage as the issue comes within the legislative domain. The response from the top court, notably by the 5-judge bench, on the first day of the Supreme Court hearing led to jubilation and hope in the LGBTQ community. The top court said there is no absolute concept of a man or an absolute concept of a woman, and that gender is far more complex than one's genitals. The petitioners sought a direction that the right to marry a person of one's choice be extended to the LGBTQ people as part of their fundamental rights. The petitioners are now hoping that the top court interprets the existing Special Marriage Act in their favour. Bureau Report, India Today.
And joining me now are two of the petitioners to understand why they've taken their battle to the court. Utkarsh Saxena and Ananya Kotia, petitioner couple, join me. I appreciate Utkarsh and Ananya, both of you joining me. Utkarsh, you want to tell us, what is it that led you to take this to the courts? Why did you all take this decision? A number of others have joined you, but what was for you the turning point?
There wasn't a turning point. It was a pretty organic experience. Socially, we've been noticing changes in society, more acceptance, more sensitive depictions in popular culture, in TV shows and movies. Personally, we felt like we were in a secure place. We're privileged enough to be able to take this step in such a public way and not be hurt. And legally, as your report just highlighted, there have been a lot of positive developments over the last decade where the rights for the LGBTQ community has been expanded. And as a result of these three sort of factors converging, we felt this was the right time to also now seek complete civil rights for the community.
You know, Ananya, it's interesting that one of the arguments that has been made by critics in particular, suggesting this is an urban, including the centre of course, that this is an urban elitist concept far removed from the social ethos of this country. Did you see this in those terms at all when you all decided to petition the courts, knock the door of the Supreme Court?
Well, personally, of course, we don't feel like that, but this is an old argument. But I think one, sexuality and gender, it's a very innate concept, right? It can't be restricted to a geography or to a class. And so I think, you know, it's not like we choose to be like this. It is who we are from birth. And there's ample scientific evidence for this. So no, I don't see this as an elite urban concept. But also, Rajdeep, I think we must understand that we're dealing with a minority where a lot of people are suppressed in fear of discrimination to hide their true identity. And therefore, one can't correlate what you see and what you hear with whether that thing exists or not. Utkarsh and I have been together for the past 15 years, and for the first 6 years of that period, we had not shared the fact that we are together, our relationship, such an integral part of our life with anyone, not with our parents, not with our best of friends. One interpretation of that could be that we don't exist, but I think that would be the wrong interpretation. In fact, we, didn't feel, we were fearful of the backlash, whether it, in the professional domain or the personal domain. And so I think a lot of people are in the closet. Maybe urban areas have a voice, and this is more visible in urban areas, but it's certainly not restricted only to urban areas. This is a universal concept which is innate to human beings.
In a sense, though, Utkarsh, was 2018 the landmark judgment by the Supreme Court in the Navtej Singh Johar versus Union of India decriminalizing homosexuality? Was that, in a way, did that give you more confidence? Did that give you all, as Ananya is openly and very bravely admitting that, the first years were very difficult. 15 years ago, when the two of you got together, perhaps you couldn't come and speak as openly as you can today. Is it therefore, as you said, an organic change? But do you think society has changed? Is there greater acceptance today, given the stand particularly that governments continue to take, especially the centre?
Yeah, I think law and society are always in a catch-up game on any kind of progress or reform. So on some occasions the law is ahead, sometimes society is ahead. In this instance, the law is taking the lead. And while society may be trailing, I think legal change certainly expedites and catalyzes social reform. So 2018 was absolutely a landmark tectonic moment. It changed a lot of lives. Once the stigma of the law was taken away, more people felt comfortable and emboldened to come out and share their realities with their families. That created the right conversations at home, a right healthy friction, which made people realize that this wasn't happening in just other people's homes, but in their own households, and allowed more people to come out for this to become a larger community that felt more comfortable being public. So absolutely the law plays a part, and if we are successful in this litigation, I'm sure it'll also be another catalyst in this journey.
Ananya, there will be those who will say, you already are a couple. Do you really need to get married in a way? Is that important? What is the importance, you believe, the sanctity to marriage in a relationship of the kind that you have? Why is that important anymore? Need not matter, really.
Sure. I think what we are asking for is just a right to marry. Of course, we are totally okay with, if marriage is not important for certain people, that's totally okay with us as well. But I think for us, marriage matters at an emotional level and at a practical level. I think at an emotional level, like a lot of other people, we've been together, we found lifelong companionship, we are in love with each other, and the next step as we see it is to get married, to celebrate our union with our families and friends, as so many others do. We go to a lot of friends' weddings, and one day we want to have a wedding too. But I think also at a practical level, there are lots of allied rights which are linked to the concept of marriage, whether it comes to starting a family and adoption, or it comes to more financial issues like, if one of us has a job and there's a group insurance, we can't join that group insurance. If he sends me money, we have to worry about gift tax and other things. There's taxation, joint ownership of property, joint bank accounts. So I think a whole host of allied rights comes when the state recognizes your union officially. And so I think for both these reasons, marriage is very important for us. In fact, if there wasn't this legal hurdle, we've been together for 15 years, we would have been married, perhaps a very long time ago.
It's wonderful to hear these voices speaking so openly and these conversations taking place in society. Utkarsh, there will be still, though, people out there who will be extremely skeptical. As you said, the law at the moment is still a couple of steps ahead of society. Within your own wider family groups, who perhaps will be a little, not so comfortable with these conversations, or do you believe that is also changing?
That is also changing, and the reason I think I'm optimistic about social change is I think a lot of the suspicion or the discomfort basically comes from a lack of exposure. A lot of my extended family relatives didn't know same-sex couples, didn't know queer people, and the more they get to know them and they realize that they're just like regular folks and their relationships are as happy, as messy, as complicated as like anyone else is. I think it just takes the sting out of them and makes them able to embrace them. And also the pace of this kind of acceptance, even in other parts of the world, has been promising. So opening this up, as you said, having more of these conversations is going to play a big part. And just giving this movement more oxygen is what's necessary to even get those who are skeptical on board. And I'm confident it will happen with time.
So Ananya, confident that the court will be on the right side of history? Is that the hope?
Well, cautiously optimistic. We're very grateful that this is getting the space that it is, that the court is hearing this, and keeping our fingers crossed and cautiously optimistic about this. Yes.
That's right. Individual rights above all else. If the Constitution guarantees you that, then you should have every right to approach the court in the manner you have. And I wish you all success. Ananya and Utkarsh, among the petitioners in this case that again could be just as landmark as decriminalizing homosexuality in 2018. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining us.